For the truth as soon as it says we're live. Are we live? Yes, we are. That'll be me going live. You tell everybody we're live, Larry, if you know. You want to come over, if the, you know, all the show ponies can come. And I'll try and do my best, run you through the test and all of the requirements for it.
And I guess they can also ask you if they want to.
Yeah, they can ask us questions about it as much as they want. I'll tell them exactly what we did. If that's good for you, Larry. Or you can just sit there. But so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the... I'm just going to click this thing for Buster's song, True Level.
I'm familiar with the bubble, Morty. I also dabble in precision, and if you think you can even approach it with your sad, naked caveman eyeball and a bubble of air, you're the reason this species is a failure, and it makes me angry. You want to experience true level? Do you? You want to experience true level? Do you? Wow, it's so... Oh my God. Oh, Christ. Yeah, true level, bitch.
What the...
Yeah, true level, bitch. I'll go in Morty's memory and do a little...
Oh, yeah, it's measurable.
But damn, he left.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like them
Wanna
words.
experience
True
true
level,
level?
bitch.
Do you?
Maybe.
Yeah, true level, bitch. Wow, it's so...
So what, my microphone was sounding...
Oh my God. Oh, Christ. Yeah, true level, bitch.
But I love Firefoot.
My name's Rumsey.
The earth is flat.
I'll go in Morty's memory and do a little...
My name's Rumsey.
Oh, everything's crooked. Reality is poison. I want to go back. I hate this.
What's his deal?
Shh. Morty. Go to school, Summer. I'll go in Morty's memory and do a little... Yeah, true level, bitch.
That's the thing, your vision is already being obfuscated by the spherical cap.
You want to experience true level? Do you?
Parallel lines will intersect.
Yeah, true level, bitch.
Level means curve.
Oh. Is that still working?
Mm-hmm.
It just stopped for me, that... Yeah, we're not allowed to play that anymore. So... Welcome, everybody. I did the... That was an intro for Buster, but it seems to have stopped going through the thing. We got people in the chat. A bullet Bill. Nice of him to come in. You reckon he's going to come in? So the idea is, I know we've been talking about doing tests. Well, we have been doing tests for heading towards a test. Now, originally, that original test is... I should have got these ready because I put it on the meme. We had the first test, which was, I made a model of the first test. which we did. I think initially it was one of the very first things we ever did. Emma, I think, did it on Emma's channel. And that was the one with the center to show the discrepancy within the center model. But that was sort of catering to the humpists. It's changed since then, or the model has changed, and it's been given screen. There you go. It was made a lot easier because we were initially saying, what sort of numbers would you be happy with? The only numbers we really had to go with was the 8 inches per mile that we were given, that we said was ridiculous, but Ruhif gave us some other numbers, which started off here in the Discord. So this is these are the numbers that Ruhif gave us, which were more accurate towards the slice bar cane test of individual 16 100 meters. And so these are the drop numbers, which we very quickly decided that a measurement of 3 mil is easily doable as a difference when you see the geometric model of this, when it's laid out in the form that Sean G gave us last night with the slope drop model. So us having a test for a straight line, which is what we've got going on in the chat. It's all go. And what's Bullet Bill on about in the chat? Anyone?
Yeah, he's trying to troll a little bit.
Just is he
With
got anything
Flazoid.
to do with the test or not? Is he still going on?
I
about
do not.
five-sided
I do
squares?
not think so. No, he's not. He's got nothing to do with it.
He's on about what Flatzoid did a couple of years ago or something like that. Not addressing the point, of course.
Okay. So we'll try and stay on track.
Yep.
Right, Nathan in the chat. So the idea is to lay out these numbers that have been verified by a lot of people. Calculations. We get the other one. Starcodder also verified it. Oh, come on. See, these are the numbers. Particularly now, the way these numbers work, they are a drop over distance, but knowing that level is equal, even over the distance, that you can't really apply those drop numbers, because that would obviously be a flowing water. I mean, quite obviously. So that drop that they say cannot be true. That's ridiculous. Which only leaves them with the hump. Now, the hump model of the individual water level puts a hump in the center of the two, obviously the two ends, which are all you have with a water level. They say it humps in the middle. Well, that hump number is a quarter, because it's a quadratic function of the formula that they've got. The hump is a quarter function of the total distance, but not a drop, an actual raise and in the upward direction. So there's a paradox that they enter into, which it became very certain, like as soon as we saw the paradox, then this is actually a test for a straight line. It's a straight line test on the horizontal plane using water levels and the arrangement of the water levels. So these are the curvature numbers that we're looking for. Now, we decided very, very quickly that a water level is accurate enough to, well, to the millimeter. As soon as you put your pencil on the water at the end, the water level, that's where you would mark it. You mark at both ends, and that will give you a level. Providing you've got all the water connected, no air bubbles and all of that. Just completely checked it through. And we decided that we'd go with distilled water because that's even better. It's the best water we could get. So we distilled enough water and did our water levels. 2 400-meter water levels we got together. Cost of around £100 a piece with the equipment to tie it all up and roll it all up and carry it around. So it's £100 investment just to make a water level. Now, they came in 100-meter segments, so you can put a T section every 100 meters, and that would show the water level at the 100-meter mark. But you don't need it. A water level doesn't need to do that. You can connect any pieces and disconnect any pieces and make it at any length within that 400 meters. So this is the arrangement that we will be using. Can you guys, have you still got the screen, or is my screen?
Oh, we got it.
Yeah, no, I want the oh, where's the projector output? All right, sorry. Projector output, and then the screen, and swap over to whiteboard. Yeah.
Whiteboard.
You got that? We got that on the disc on the YouTube.
Yep.
Okie dokie. So here's the setup. The mic over. We have 400-meter water level. It goes from there to there, so that's 400 meters. We're only on about the connecting bit in the center, so we've got 100, 200, 300, 400, but we don't need that one there. And we put these upshoots on that, so that's 200 meters, and that's 100, that's 100. Get another water level, so this is one of them, and this comes from here. Can you see that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We put a connection in there and there.
Mm-hmm.
So these are two separate water levels, and as predicted, right? So so this water level fills up to that bit there, and then this end would fill up to here. This one fills up to there and fills up to there. Now that would be if the water levels were level, right? as you would expect, as we expected, when you fill this water level up, you control this one here. And when you fill this one up here, you control this one here. Now, as we've just seen with the numbers, they predict a drop from one end or this end. I mean, Sean G came round last night saying some ridiculous stuff. That the water level slopes on from the end that you're at, right? But I mean, that can't happen. So the only question is, if you want to put a hump, or people want to claim the hump in between here and here, because you just fill the water up and it's level, right? But they say there's a hump in the middle. So the hump would be here, making this higher than the straight line between here and here. Also, for the blue one, from here to here, the hump would be higher. Were there to be a hump in both of them. But so the test goes, if you fill these water levels up and then add these sections in here and here, what happens when you just fill the water levels up? Now, the test, as we did, was just this basic, simple test. The question being, what happens here? Well, the question was answered that they're all on the same. They're all on the same plane. Like that. When you're filming them, and you film all of these three sections together, which anyone could have come, because we do it live on Discord. We had cameras, we had our phones filming these stations, broadcast live onto Discord. We've got P1000s filming them. Not actually had chance to put all of the video together and all of that, but that's the basic test. What should happen? What do you guys predict would happen here? And then obviously, if you can do this for this section here, over 200 meters, then you could just move this, another one of these, and put it there and continue that straight line. This is a shared straight line segment from this one to there and this one to here. They share the same plane. Or if they don't share the same plane, they share the same parallel. There's no tilt to each of them when they're observed together. And that's what we saw. But this was just a test. I had the blue one. That was mine. And Spot On had the green one. That was his. It was a test for us to see whether we could actually do this. Whether we had the ability to do it. And yeah, we did. We both did it.
Yeah, and how many hours have you spent on this on Sunday? What do you reckon? What was it? Because as I remember, it was like, I don't know, at least 10 hours altogether.
Oh, 10, I think. Yeah. But I mean, that involved me going and taking my lad back home.
Yeah, sure. Everything,
like
yeah. Going there and coming back, but yeah.
All broadcast live onto Discord as we were doing it.
They were doing it all day, by the way. Anybody listening in and wasn't here, it was all fucking day.
It was good fun. It's good fun. I even got a bit of a tan. Look at that.
Yeah, you even talk to people, right? On the side.
Oh,
At least I heard Spot On talking to someone. Yeah.
But there you go. That. Oh. There you go. So that's what we were there to show. Straight line. Can you prove a straight line in reality using geometric principles and showing shared straight line segment all the way across? Very simple, very easy to do, and £100 cheap. You don't need any optical tools. You can do it yourself. We had people talking to us all day. We did it. You're best off doing it at the side of a canal or somewhere that you know is going to be level. Find a body of water. You know it'll be level. Can't be curved, can it? Where would you put the curve? These are two separate water levels. They're not connected. There's a shared straight line segment in the middle. This one has a hump and that one has a hump. They don't show that there's any hump there. Very simple.
No hump. Uh-oh.
No, like I've said, level is a straight line on a horizontal plane, and a straight line is defined as the shortest distance from one point to the other. If you make a point there, you make a point there, that's got to be a straight line in between it. And it's got to be horizontal because the horizontal is the shortest distance between 2 points. That's why all distances are measured horizontally. Or distances on maps and stuff like that. So, we did it. Anybody any questions about it? Or do you need to see pictures? And would you be happy? I mean, like, it's not for everybody else. This is obviously it's only our proof. And how would you believe a picture? Because there's 3 different pictures from 3 different stations. Unless you were here in the Discord chat, you probably wouldn't know that. You wouldn't be able to say that it wasn't doctored and these pictures haven't been put together at different times to make it appear like it does. I mean, it's one of those things that you just have to be here whenever we do it. Now, we are going to be doing this quite a lot. We aim to go and do it one more time for the big test for the on the level crew down at, I don't know, we go down south a bit, do another one down there. Everybody's involved, or you're invited to come along and do it. People were walking along the canal bank asking us questions all day. My lads, spot on, me, we were all just talking to people. Very reasonable people. And talking to people in the Discord chat, the people that came in to see it, of which there were quite a few.
I wonder if any of them understood the significance of the 2 water levels and what it means exactly when you were saying the hump.
I don't know. It's basic geometric principles to show a straight line, shared straight line segment. We've been saying it all along. I mean, this isn't complicated stuff. Not by any means. All you need is a very logical mind. And mostly, that's what you get at the side of a canal. People walking at the side of the canal. Anyone that's lived on the canal or with the boats or whatever. Then, soon as you're presented with a 27-mile stretch of canal, then, I mean, what other... how could it possibly hump? Or drop?
Exactly. This is what I don't think they understand. Because their fantasy says that it starts dropping right away. But then they say things disappear because of the hump. There's a hump there. So that's a paradox right there. I don't think that they fully understand this.
Well, again, the problem is that you've got their best guy, Jesse Kozlowski, who has the quote of saying that the water level drops from horizontal already. So it drops. But then you've got the model that Walter Bislin made for the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge, Rakia's Causeway, as we call it. He drives over it nearly every week.
What does he say? 27.5 meters hump in the middle?
28.5 meters. The Walter
28
Bislin
and a half.
modelled a hump in the middle.
So that's what it should be, but it's not there, right?
Well, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Jesse Kozlowski said one level point at one end, one level point at the other end, and a level point in the middle make a coplanar. 3 coplanar points.
He also said that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Walter Bislin modelled a big hump with a hump of 28.5 meters in the middle of it.
In the middle, yeah.
So that's the paradox. The paradox is the drop that's talked about, and all of the numbers that we showed you earlier that we went off, that Ruhif gave us, and Stark. You know, quite a lot of people have verified it. I mean, they're calculation numbers, but they're drop numbers, and you can't have a hump if it's dropping.
Yeah, so let's be clear. Did they actually verify it in real life with any kind of method?
I've never heard of a method yet, a viable method.
And what did
anyway.
you do? And what did you do on Sunday?
We got the water levels, 400 meter water levels out, placed them, overlap them, 200 meter segment in the middle, and then recorded the water levels along those three stations where there were 2 pipes joined together,
Which are overlapping each other, of course.
Yeah.
From one and the other.
Yeah. The two different water levels. Yeah.
Interesting that you actually get off your ass and do something in real life, and they all they do, like literally, is showing some paperwork on some calculation. And then, what did happen today in Jose's? Because as far as I heard, they were trying to tell people that you cannot even come in here. And you certainly cannot talk about anything that they want to talk about. But also you cannot even see the test if you want to. For some reason.
I've been trying to explain this for quite a while to a lot of people, and it seems as though people don't want to hear it. They don't want to comment on it. It started off way back when we was trying to talk to Jesse Kozlowski again about this very test. It's you just want to ask people what are their opinions of what this test would show. Particularly the surveyors.
When was that about?
Oh,
like 1, 2, 3 years ago?
Yeah, 2-3 years ago when I first started coming round here, and we first started talking about this particular test that we did. And one of the things
when Level was born.
When one of the things we wanted to do, we wanted to keep it our test. We didn't want anybody else to have any influence in it. That way we could keep it exactly as the way we wanted it. And obviously we don't want to spend too much money. We want to make it available to everybody. And when we started it, we found the logic. And the logic is truly the greatest gift that we could ever give. Right? That is what we hopefully aim to do, is to give people the logic to be able to do it themselves. It's not a cost thing. It's not something that needs people, GoFundMes of hundreds of thousands of. This is something that we did that was very easy, and I don't consider anybody else doing anything or being able to look at a picture and anybody else to take this as a proof of anything, because I mean, it's not. It's a personal thing. It was a proof for me and Spot On. Now the rest of everybody here, they've been on the journey of the mathematical proof and the logical proof, right? That all of that works, and everybody can verify that very easily for themselves. But the actual practical proof that's gained out there. That's experience in it, which is what we did at the weekend, and it's brilliant. I like it. We'll do it again, and we've got to repeat it. That's the idea of this sort of thing.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm too poor.
Well, you could help out, at least, couldn't you?
What the fuck could I help out with? I'm brain dead.
You could unreel a cable or something like that.
Buddy, I can't wheel a tire down a hill.
You could look at one of the stations, couldn't you? You on your phone looking at it.
I was trying to be a Glober, come up with as many excuses as I can, so I don't have to fucking get the result that I really don't want. Like, I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, but I certainly have, and I don't know if y'all are getting sick of me talking about him, but y'all should be paying attention to fucking Owen right now, because he hasn't said it yet, but he's definitely on our fucking time.
We're live.
By the way.
Yeah. Live doing a presentation about what we did at the weekend.
Now you fucking tell me. You jackasses.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going, but we didn't let it go too far, okay? You gotta give us
That's all I'm saying now. Fuck it.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's very simple, and to most of the people in here, it's very simple, because we've all been over it. This is a journey that you go on, where you find logic for yourself, and these straight lines that you see, it's the logical proof, it's the geometric proof, and then all you need to do to top it off is the practical proof, to actually do it and experience it as that is what happens. Well, that's what we're hoping to do here, is to show that the geometry that everybody uses and knows and understands is the geometry that is it's dictated to logically from reality. I mean, a straight line's straight because horizontal lines is the shortest distance. It's the best way to explain it. It's one of the best reference frames we have. That horizontal is dictated by the water level. It's not the other way round. It's just a proof from reality. Straight lines. You can form a straight line. Yeah. Did you get all of that, everybody? Howard's in here and Larry's in here. Joseph Stanley. Joseph Stanley's a surveyor.
Say, that little example that you just gave there was, I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Pun intended.
Of course, it's straightforward, but, you know, if Lane or Larry Snut has any kind of question, they can have it right now. Anytime, guys.
Is it a drop? Is it a hump? Is it two drops becoming a hump?
Is that a proof of a straight line? It would be a good one. Is that a good enough geometric proof for a shared straight line segment, and that you could then continue that on infinitely? I would say so, because to me it's a proof. Sort of a proof that I'd developed, but I mean, it's not my proof. It's there. The logical, geometric reasoning is there. You've just got to look at large bodies of water. I mean, you can imagine it curves. I imagine there's quite a lot of people that do imagine that there's a curvature. I'd imagine there seems to be a lot of people that are unaware what they imagine at all. It's like what we said, most of it is this is a distraction. Everything seems to be a distraction from what? I don't know. I haven't got a clue.
From reality. They refuse to accept reality. And water is, I mean, you can't get more real than that.
Yeah, I would second that.
So any Howard, Larry, you want to say anything? You want to ask any questions or anything, or are we going to say that's good? That looks like a good, solid geometric proof.
Well, I was curious. Did you try to measure the chord? In other words, make an optical observation across the endpoints and see if the middle points are on that same chord, or did you not measure anything?
The water levels were together. We observed them.
I saw that. I saw the layout, and no. Did you make any attempt to measure from the first extreme point on the left to the far point on the right as a chord, or just as a straight line, and see if the points in the middle on that same straight line? Yes or no?
They are there. They're on the board, right? All of the marks are there.
The
you can
field.
look at them. Please, Larry, please. What measurement from where to where? Give us because they were measured out. Yeah, we had a measuring wheel, and like you can see, 200 meters, 100 meters, that was measured out. So yes, that was measured. What other measurements are you talking about, Larry, please?
With an instrument set up at the same elevation as the extreme point on the left.
Yeah, water level.
Put it across here on the far point at the 600, and then see if the points in the middle are in fact still on that line. You didn't make any test of the 3,960 mile radius. You just amply, properly, and marvelously set up 600 meters of continuous elevation. Granted. But you didn't test the geometry of that straight line or arc.
It's just
because you made no subsequent measurement. You said
it's a straight line test.
Okay, then that's my point. You made no measurement.
It was a geometric test for a straight line. Do you see those bits in the middle? Does that not show to you that that is a shared straight line segment in the center?
No, it amply and correctly and very marvelously shows the continuous elevation across both. The tops of all those water columns were at the same elevation.
Yeah.
But
a straight line, right?
No, a constant elevation, and you did not test the straightness of that geometry. That was the point. I thought you were trying to test to see how straight that would be when measured with optical tooling.
Right. Well, it's a water level, Larry. So
I'm completely online, and I like your setup in a very big way. I applaud thee. Now measuring the geometry of the tops of all the water columns.
Measuring from what, please?
All right, I'll try using a different version of English. From the point on the left, setting up an instrument at that elevation, and laying the crosshair on the water elevation at the far end, then comparing the height of the water columns to that long chord. because if it's not a chord, right, the points in the middle will be right there. If it is a chord, then the points in the middle will be above the chord. And that, I thought, was your test. That's what I thought you were going to actually test the geometry of the top of that constant elevation across those 5 water columns.
Can I just ask you, right?
You set up the 5 water columns, and you said, look, they're all the same elevation.
Calm down, Larry, please.
Larry, I mean, I'm happy if you think all of those 5 are on the same line, right? Same straight line, because that shows that the shared straight line segment in the middle can be extended past. Right?
Yes.
You're looking at that as though that is one water level at 600 meters, aren't you?
Agreed.
Right,
Agreed.
now, are you thinking of that is one 600 meter water level because there is a shared straight line segment in the center?
Without doubt, without hesitation. And you needn't even have to overlap in the middle. Yeah, you could have just gone and, the 400 and 400. Yeah, and overlapping in the middle, spot on. I applaud that highly. And yes, the tops of all 5 of those water columns are at constant elevation.
Okay, and that's a horizontal straight line, isn't it? A horizontal plane. All of those tops of those water columns are on the same horizontal plane.
Well, I thought your test was to demonstrate whether or not that statement was true.
Yes.
And you did not test that statement with secondary...
showed it with the shared straight line segment, Larry.
Yeah, and the tops of all those of the water columns are one continuous elevation, one continuous 39, 60-mile radius arc. You did not test the geometry.
Straight line, Larry.
Well, you just say that, but you didn't test that.
Yeah, he did. Can you not see the arrangement of the water levels?
Cannot see the test of that geometry.
Can you not?
I could see that it is one continuous. All 5 water columns are at the same elevation. Yes, granted, love it. Great. Absolutely precise, properly done. Now, test the geometry of the tops of all those water columns.
Okay, so the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right?
Yeah, that's why you should have set the crosshairs, set your instrument to be even with the far one on the left, and line up the crosshairs on the far one on the right, and see if the ones in the middle are on that same line.
Yeah, this is a water level, Larry. They don't come with crosshairs, right?
Okay, I pose my question, and I see a nebulous answer. Okay, you're happy with what you did, and I could see that what you did was take no test of the geometry of the tops of those water columns. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
And as you pointed out, this was a drill to go through the machinations of actually setting it up. Hats off. Very good. And you could do it again faster and repeatable and all the good stuff. And hopefully somebody will bring some instrumentation along and test the geometry of the tops of all those columns of water to see that they are in fact a continuous elevation, constant elevation, and not tangent to horizontal at the left end.
Sorry, did you say tangent to horizontal?
What?
Yeah, one of those damn survey terms you don't seem to understand very well. Yeah, when you set up the
tangent to horizontal.
You take your auto level, setting up at one end. The crosshairs are tangent to that 39, 60-mile radius arc. Yeah, that's tangent at that point.
That's not horizontal, though, do you? You can't say horizontal is an arc.
Well, there you go. You already have the answer to your test without making measurements. That's grand.
You don't think horizontal's a curved line, do you?
Of course not, because horizontal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because horizontal is only at one point. Yeah.
What? It's a straight line.
This is what he means, by the way. It's in the chat.
Perpendicular.
I'm not sure if he's using it right.
Yeah, I don't know what do you mean tangent to a horizontal? I mean that's great, that Larry.
How can you call yourself a surveyor if you say horizontal at a point?
tangent to level. Right, because level is 60-mile arc.
That's what you said. Sorry, you said it like 3 times and it wasn't that.
You said tangent to a horizontal and horizontal to a point.
3 times you said it, yeah. That's why I asked you back.
Is this Larry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Larry's not, yeah.
Maybe I jumbled a few words. Yes.
Okay, no problem. So you didn't mean that.
Okay.
Go ahead and just take a mulligan.
Yeah. Okay.
And take a mulligan. It's cool.
Horizontal is tangent to the arc of sea level at one point.
Can I ask a question? You're assuming, or do you know that water levels that Bev did in his particular test, his water levels, is that creating an arc or a horizontal? Mr. Larry.
Most definitely a constant elevation, which is the arc of sea level. Yeah.
So Bev's,
understand,
let me just
Larry?
hang on. Let me just clarify real quick.
Sorry,
So
Dave.
Bev's test that you have reviewed and you think is great, created an arc. You can just say yes or no.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, right there, as is also indicated by the Ordnance Survey UK. Yeah.
Okay. So one follow-up question. So not horizontal then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Well, can I ask one question? Because like last night we had Sean G, and he said point to point you could have a straight line with no curvature.
Yeah, point.
No.
So
And then-
what about the point to point to each point of the ends of the water level?
Yeah. The extreme left and the extreme right. Observe. Put crosshairs of an instrument on there to demonstrate the chord from the extreme left to the extreme right, in the middle. That would be a.
Oh, you're losing us, Larry.
I think Larry is chopping
breaking
a little
up.
bit.
See, there you go. There's his picture. If flat.
There is the picture in the
if
live
curvature.
chat, Larry.
That's the one. Have a look at
Can I
that.
just point out there are 2 separate water levels overlapping. If there wasn't a line, you would get a deviation from the middle position to the end of the water line.
Is it me or everybody is cutting in and out?
No, I get that.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, I get it, Brian. I mean, that's basically what I've been trying to say. And then it's good that you've got it, right? There's got to be other people out there getting it.
If you use 2 separate water lines like that, overlap them with centre points, the middle position, if there was a curve, would have been higher than the other line.
The Dornagon
isn't.
comes into effect, right? I'll
Yeah,
get a
there
picture
isn't-
of the Dornagon.
There isn't a raise. The line is perfectly level.
Well, unless they're redefining the arc that I don't know about. That's why I asked my question.
Harry knows he understands it.
Well, that's why I was trying to clarify with Sean G last night was that did he think that it was creating an arc? And he said, no, you can have a straight line from point to point. So I'm confused on how they're
creating a slope. He said slope.
Yeah.
If it was curved, the 2 separate things would read a deviation.
Oh, I know. I get exactly what you're saying, but
One is in the middle and one is at the end. So you should be a deviation if there isn't any. Right, that level line.
Shared straight
Well, I
line
guess-
segment.
how many
Yeah,
times have we been told that you could measure the drop from one end to the other? You could go to the other end and measure the drop again. But now that you've set it up and shown they're all straight line segments, I guess the story's changing.
On the back foot, mate. Could be the end of it. This could be the end of the debate.
Especially when Sean came in last night and said, if it's flat, then their water levels will be level. Exactly how we showed. But if curvature, then it would slope. And he said, literally, slope. From which end? Well, whichever end you're at.
All ends.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a little off. Maybe he needs to take a mulligan. He might come back and take a mulligan, but maybe not.
Well,
I mean, Larry at least is coming in here and being honest with him, with himself, saying, "Okay, I need to take a mulligan here."
Yeah.
I know I told y'all didn't know surveying terms, as I was using surveying terms wrongly, but at least he took a mulligan.
Yeah.
And he was honest with his answer about the arc too. So.
But I have heard tangent to a horizontal before. Now, as most people know, a tangent is a straight line that touches a curve. Well, how can you have a tangent to a horizontal? A horizontal is a straight line. So a straight line that touches a straight line it's the same straight line. It's
if
literally,
it touches at one point, it's the same line.
It's literally impossible to have
he said he had a slip
to a horizontal. Yeah, I know he had to take it back, but I have heard other people say it. There's a dude on Twitter that says it all the time, as though that's like an excuse, and I've heard Rumpers say it too. So it's not uncommon for these people, because at the heart of it, you've got bendyzontal. Some of them
Sometimes this stuff gets put in print, and they read it and believe it so wholeheartedly, and when they say it dongs on them that it's not true or not written right, or maybe they're just misunderstanding it the way it's written. Honestly, I've never heard a surveyor say that. I've not seen it in a surveying book, but that doesn't mean that it's not written down and maybe taken out of context or maybe written down wrong. I mean, it's not infallible, right? Like, these books are wrong all the time.
The good thing is there's no optics involved. So you're not getting any distortion through.
Oh, you cut out.
You cut out, Brian. But yeah, they're trying to draw in the optics to the test. And the whole reason for doing the test is to get away from the optics, because we know how the atmosphere affects those over even short distances, but especially long. And it's dependent on the day. That's how we know that we should get away from them.
We have more tests to do. Once we establish that the horizontal is a straight line, then we can use that to see exactly what's going on with the optics and see how they're affected over distance, because we know that these optical tools are only accurate for a short distance. Now, the water level is accurate for the distance of the water level. I mean, we're going to go into more studies and more things, but as far as we know,
there's no reason why you can't daisy chain a dozen of these things together.
That was the idea. If we can meet more people with one of these water levels that wants to come and join us, we'll just keep going all the way down the canal and see how far we can get.
It can go round a corner, can't it?
You can go anywhere, yeah. You just
you don't need
link all of
line of
these
sight.
water levels together, yeah. They'll tell you.
You can double back on yourself too, and guess what happened?
Yeah.
As long as them middle sections and the end section of the other one read the same level, there's no curvature.
Yeah, and you can use every geometric principle in Book 11, Euclid's Euclidean geometry, and it will apply to that horizontal plane that's set by the water level.
You can make circles, X's.
That's been the most frustrating thing, I think, for me this whole time. They say it's only horizontal at the midpoint, and you have to sight down it. No one would ever show you to use a water level that way. Period.
Maybe they should call the water level manufacturers and ask them.
I mean, they specifically designed it. They specifically designed it so you didn't have to look down it. So you
no. Just ask them, where in your manual, hey, manufacturer, where in your manual do you teach me how to sight down the water level?
That's why they built it with the reservoir and a measuring tape on one end, so even a dummy could use the one end.
Yeah.
So maybe you could put the reservoir at a place you can't even see it anymore. Yeah. Let's say, I don't know, a mile away or around the corner.
Around the corner.
and use the measuring tool on the other end to know that you're creating a horizontal plane. Yeah, I think that's the way it's designed. Nah, I could be wrong.
Can I just address Batman in the YouTube chat? He says a water level can't be used on its own to determine the shape of the Earth. Well, you measure the shape of the Earth from a baseline that's established called a level. So, yeah, the shape of everything and the amount of elevation and all of that can be measured by a water level, right? You just need a measuring rod to use that plane that you establish, and then you can use that to measure from. I mean, what shape of the Earth do you want? There's the mountains, they go up and down, there's valleys all over the place. We're just here to show that the level is horizontal. I mean, make of that what you will. It's never been a contention, really. That's just been a statement that we've said. We can prove it. Go on, sorry.
Like a lake that's filled with, let's just say billions of gallons, you can figure it out. But let's say a lake that's filled with 1 billion gallons of water. I don't even know what size lake that would be, but I'm sure they exist, right? Whatever. So you're saying that whatever you're saying is making the water curve is going to make a tube of water curve at the same rate?
Sorry
To
to
me,
interrupt.
that's strange.
Sorry to interrupt, Bev. Check the live stream. There's a little bit of low gas today. A street I drove past.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Y'all have me locked out of live stream text for some reason. Did I lose all my rolls?
You've clicked the wrong button again, haven't you?
Rakia, you always do something like that.
I probably canceled myself.
I'm saving that.
I wanted to blame y'all. Don't laugh at me. I will mute you somehow.
There you go. Save
Yeah. I think it's rocked everybody back on their heels, mate.
It's no different. We've been going on about it for ages, right? We haven't changed anything. And they've been avoiding this, discussing what the test is. And that's the problem. Now they're in a position where they don't even know what the test is. Hopefully I've described it tonight. And they'll understand what the test is. But it's more of a personal journey of learning the logic that gives you the backing for the geometry. It's not difficult. These are very simple principles that we can use in reality, daily basis. Most people do use these sort of things on a daily basis. I think it's cool. It was a good day. And we still got the water level, still got it all set up. We're ready to just unreel it again, set it up. I think we could do with some better communicate. If we could get them cups, if we could get a pack of those 8 cups for the communicating vessels. We don't need the thing, obviously, the micrometer. But if we, I mean, that'd be interesting, right? What sort of, like we did here, because this is to do it on a budget for every man sort of thing. It took us 2 years, but I mean, it's £100. Little bits of stuff, checking connections and learning how to get it so there's no leaks. And I mean, it's took quite a while.
I mean, I don't know. You could use the micrometer because then we could even debunk the short distance.
Well, yeah, that's what it was saying. It'd be given the unlimited expenses type thing. I mean, it's not really unlimited, but given the micrometer as well, you could then do what we did, right? Initially, we had the 1 mile, 8 inches, hump of 2 inches. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't see it, so it's a test to do something that you wouldn't see. but that was 2 inches, and then it became, well, they've given us the numbers, and how accurate do you think? Because it was a test between me and Spot On, and one of the questions was, how accurate do you think a water level could be? And both of us said to the pencil mark, right, a millimeter, that you could tell one end to the other. You could, as long as you could mark it, you could do it. So when they said that there was meant to be a drop of 3.1 millimeters over the 200 meters, then like, you could definitely measure that. 3.1 mil. I mean, you could use the tool to do that, and it would be feasible. It would be there to be measured. Obviously, it isn't, and that's the reason we didn't want to do a GoFundMe or anything, because you're asking people to try and get something that they already know. It's like logic. You hear something and it just seems simple. Yeah. Level is horizontal. Yeah, I mean, what else could it possibly be? It's a straight line. Everybody already knows it. You can't be canoeing on a canal and going downhill and then turning round and going back again and going down and dropping down. And every time you go on an infinite drop on the water, that's just ridiculous. Like I say, it's a personal proof, but anybody else wants to get involved in it, and when we'll go and meet at the canal somewhere, do the test. It's a great day. It's a great day out, chatting to everybody. People coming up to you, asking you what you're doing. What do you say?
Setting up a water level.
Yeah. There's loads of people like, for the council, for the canal board or something.
I mean, how many times did we hear people, talk about the Donegal?
Yeah.
I don't think they know they're talking about it. It just comes out, right?
And then, when Bev overlaps three parts of he overlaps 200 meters of it. No Donegal.
Yeah, it's not there. Yeah. I bet they still imagine it as a curve, though, right? I mean, was Larry still in here? You imagine it's a curve, right, Larry? Still.
He said arc.
All of those, from those points to point of the water level, like you imagine there's a curve. It's just an imagination, though, right? Straight line, point to point.
It's that same reality that was in the diagram from the Ordnance Survey UK that I posted. So I'm in their camp because that reflects the measurements I return with my kit.
Okay, you use
well, maybe your method
Optical.
Is flawed.
You use a theodolite, do you? And you would...
Yeah, I do.
Would you set the water level up and then sight it? Or would you use some other method for establishing a horizontal?
Well, as I've said, I applaud your water level. You properly set it up. It was perfectly good. A nice, continuous, constant elevation for the whole 600 meters. Yeah, then I would take an instrument and set the crosshairs to be at the same elevation and in very close proximity to the point on the left, and lay the crosshairs on the elevation of the top of the water column.
You wouldn't be able to do that, though. It was round the corner. It's on a canal. It's like the water level. That's the beauty of the water level, right? You don't need a line of sight.
Well, to test the geometry of the tops of the water column, which you contend is a straight line, just the same as a string line, then yeah, I would set them up in a straight line in the horizontal so we could test their geometry in the vertical with crosshairs and tooling. Yeah,
you said it was good.
I said the tops of the elevation were good. I didn't know you went around a corner. I thought you had line of sight from end to end.
No. It's a water level at the side of the canal. That's why we chose the water level, like Rakia said earlier.
Then I totally misunderstood. I thought you had the 5 water column tops were all in a straight line where you could make an observation across all 5 of them simultaneously with an instrument and check the geometry to see if your assertion of they're all exactly straight lines, or if the Ordnance Survey of the UK is accurate in their public of the continuous elevation, a constant elevation, is a 3,960-mile arc.
Okay.
I thought that was a test.
So, at what distance? I fail to get this answer, but you've been really honest with all the other answers. So I'm going to give you a shot at it. At what distance would a tool such as a water level that creates a horizontal, y'all say locally, at what distance would it start creating that arc? Like that you can measure?
It goes back to the mixing up of the word level and horizontal. And when you set up an auto level, get it all nice and oriented, it's adjusted, it's calibrated, it's your $1,000 instrument. Yeah, it is horizontal at that point. And
oh, Rakia, you might want to go again.
Horizontal. It's horizontal at that point, without doubt. And for 200 or 300 feet in all directions, a water level and the auto level are going to agree with each other so close you can just put the water level away. You get out there 500, 600 feet, the differences will be small. You get out there 1,000 feet, now it depends on what you're doing. Yeah, now it's going to start to show up. It depends. Are you just rough grading a hillside, or are you laying asphalt that can't afford to have a bird bath puddle?
What about if you're doing a test for level being horizontal?
Well, you got to test the geometry of the tops of those points to see if they are an arc in the vertical or not. So, yeah, I would set them up in where they can all be observed simultaneously, and then look down the edge of it and see if it looks like the Causeway Bridge, or to see if it looks like a pool, like a piece of string.
Look down the edge of it.
No, look down the top. Look down the tops of the water columns, all in a straight line, to see if they line up like the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway Bridge, or they line up like a taut string line.
So go against the manufacturer's manual, basically. Just look down the edge of it.
You can set up a theodolite with crosshairs with the first one, lay the crosshairs on the far one, and see if the middle ones in the middle are above or below or on that line. Yeah, that's I don't know what manufacturer you're reading.
Did you invent the dark shark, or have you heard that of other people? Like, where did you hear of this sighting water levels from?
Nowhere. That's the test. That's the test I thought you were doing, because you talked about.
No, I didn't. No. I've never said that. I've never suggested that at all. Right. Where did you hear it from? This sighting water levels, because we did
nowhere. That's my idea.
You've not heard it from anywhere. You've made that up.
Good. Yeah. Okay. I don't mind authoring that.
Sean G seems to have said that the other day. Did you teach Sean G it?
No, I don't think I've had any direct interaction with that man on Discord.
So both of you have independently thought of this method of how to test the curvature of level.
Well, again, I thought you were testing the geometry of the tops of the water columns
straight line.
In aggregate. Set them up all in a straight line to where they can be observed all simultaneously, and then with an instrument with crosshairs, get even with the first one, lay the crosshair on the far one, and see if the ones in the middle are above. That's what I thought you were going to do. I totally misunderstood. I had no idea that you were not going to make any test of the geometry of the tops of those water columns against something like the crosshair of an instrument.
It's all right.
How do you say the ones in the middle will be above?
Well, that's the test. Why don't you?
No, the test is what we've done.
Larry, hold on, Bev. Larry, do you understand there's two totally separate water levels with a center section that should show higher if there is a curve to the other water level? Do you understand that?
I did grasp his diagram very well, and said, and gave the high marks for what he did. Yeah, without doubt, he had a continuous. All 5 of the uprights are at the constant same elevation, and I believed his test was going to be to test the geometry of the tops of the water columns in aggregate simultaneously.
Do you understand that middle section should have been higher in one water level than the other one at the end? Do you understand that?
Well, the word higher implies elevation. It would be at the same elevation, but it would be above the chord from the beginning point to the end point, which Bev says he did not test, and the water columns are not in a straight enough line to where you can make an observation of all the points simultaneously and take the data in aggregate. So, yeah, I totally misunderstood what he was doing when he said he was not going to check the geometry of the tops of those constant elevations.
Straight line,
said,
Larry.
I know, you keep saying that, and I thought the test was you were going to test that statement.
Right, so, see, this is where we have a point of the geometry states that a straight line can be drawn from any one point to another point. And the straight line would be the shortest line between those 2 points. Now, that is dictated to by the geometry. Now, when we use the geometry to test, we use those straight line principles in order to prove a shared straight line segment. Even Brian's been trying to tell you. Do you understand that there are 2 separate water levels in the test?
I fully acknowledge that they're not interconnected, they're overlapping, and that had no compromise to the constant elevations at all. Yeah, totally online with that setup. Absolutely. And the geometry in question is per the Ordnance Survey UK's textbook, which reflects field observations for years. Now, you want to test over a petite little short 600 meters? Yeah, you're going to have to, really start to split the atom. And yeah, I thought you would
3 millimeters, Larry.
Thought you would test the geometry of the tops of those water columns.
Straight lines between 2 points.
Going to test that in aggregate to prove and lay bare your statement that they are a straight line in the vertical component as opposed to an arc. I thought you were going to test that. I thought you were going to demonstrate that. And you made no such attempt to demonstrate it. I got it. I'm totally misunderstood.
You think I made no attempt to demonstrate that is a shared straight line segment, right?
Correct, because a shared straight line segment is kind of a silly use of the word, yeah.
It just happens to be a proof within Euclid, the elements. It's one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, if you're working at very short distances, but you can't scale that up to work in the many miles.
Scale a straight line up, can you not? What happens when you scale a straight line up, Larry? What's the difference?
Okay, when you scale up the mechanics of laying that out on the planet on which we live,
geometrically, Larry, we're talking about straight lines here.
Yield to the Ordnance Survey UK's textbook because that reflects my measurements. Now, the Ordnance Survey, you said you were completely online with the Ordnance Survey.
There's no need to shout, Larry. Please, calm down.
And the Ordnance Survey said straight up that they use curvature of the Earth when they make their maps. Hi, Bev. Yeah, they told you specifically in response that they apply curvature of the Earth in making their maps. And you said you completely agree with the Ordnance Survey because they're the first order cracker, best order maps going, and yet they totally disagree with everything you just said. And I bring the Ordnance Survey textbook to the screen and say, yeah, if you agree with the Ordnance Survey, I agree with the Ordnance Survey, we have common ground. And that's why I'm going with diagram.
We're just dealing with basic, really basic geometric principles of a shared straight line segment, Larry. It's a shame that you can't see how simple this is. And you can't even explain what you're talking about, can you? What's the difference from because you agree that it's a shared straight line segment, don't you?
I did not say the word straight line column or straight line segment. I said the tops of those elevations are in fact all coincident at the same elevation, and you didn't even have to do that overlap. But I'm glad you did, because it was a nice demonstration of extending water levels. Yeah, without doubt, that is a constant elevation across the tops of all 5 of those water columns.
You think that's curvature, do you?
Yes, I believe that is exactly what's represented in the Ordnance Survey textbook.
And you understand there's 2 separate water levels there.
And I also understand, as we mutually agreed, interconnection between those 2 water levels was not required. If you line up the water column elevations so that they're the same elevation, yeah, they need not be connected. Being connected would be just one finer touch, but unnecessary, and maybe better in practicality if you're going to leapfrog that along for another 400. Yeah, it'd be perfectly okay.
We didn't want to link them together because at the moment we both hold the record, as far as I know, for the water levels, and then we don't want to put anybody else out.
Right.
And then we also want to leave it out there if somebody else does want to start the water level challenge, who can have the longest water level and do that sort of stuff, Larry. It's cool, isn't it? Do you want to join in?
As I commented, they need not be connected. I was and if you had connected them, it would have made no difference. It's great. It's just fine. It's good. I applaud your mechanics of laying out that water column scenario, and you're drilled. You can do it again, and you can do it again.
Could we do it again if we had like 800 meters with a 400 meter shared section?
The only difficulty with the water level in the layout that you're using is finding a piece of terrain where you can have a horizontally straight line that has so little elevation change. Yeah,
side of a canal is normally the best bit. Or
exactly.
Any body of water, right? That's where you go to look for this sort of stuff.
And I don't have that around here. Otherwise, yeah, I'd be on it. But I don't have that around here. I can't even find a abandoned railroad track to do that.
Okay. Well, I mean, the offer's open to anyone. They want to come and join us, especially in the UK, but people want to have a joint get-together in America and do it as well. Prove it to themselves. But, I mean, you don't think it's a straight line, do you?
I am quite sure that my understanding of the mechanics of measuring across the surface of the Earth agree with the Ordnance Survey textbook diagram I put up. And the tops of those water columns are at the constant elevation. And if you look at that diagram, it plainly shows what a constant elevation is. It's 3,960-mile radius arc.
Yeah, you think level's a circle, whereas I think level is a straight line on a horizontal plane.
And that's why I thought you were going to test it, and then you didn't.
Okay. Can I ask you how you... No, because like in order to define a circle within geometry, you need to have a center point and a distance from the center point in order to describe it, right? How do you know that? Geometrically.
You mean the radius of the Earth?
I don't know. I mean the radius of your level, because
no, the radius. Well, the radius of the Earth,
which keeps changing, doesn't it? Concentric circles.
Yes, it does.
So the curvature rate changes. It's like
because the radius at sea level is 3960, and the radius on top of a mountain would be 3961. Yeah, got it. Agreed.
What? Sorry, 39.
The radius at sea level would be about 3,960 miles, and the radius of the geoid at top of a mountain would be 3961 at your point of observation. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The radius when you're dealing with
that is just an average, though, isn't it, on your model?
Yeah, 3960. Yeah, 39.
That number, it's just an average, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I don't use that number. I use the precise number for location off the ellipsoid. Yeah,
okay,
I do.
So you obviously need to know that as one of your base things to know how much curvature you have to add to your level at that point, because the elevation, it's obviously elevation dependent, isn't it? The curvature of level is elevation dependent, isn't it?
Without hesitation, the precise distance from the geoid
on your model
is taken into account when measuring across vertical angles at significant distance, yeah.
Across vertical angles?
Yeah, because when dealing with multi-mile measurements, that's how you do it. I can't get a water level to go 1,600 plus vertical feet at 20 miles. So yeah, vertical angles. There you go. That's right. That's the right tool for the job.
Okay. So how did you get that? How do you get that radius then? How do you get that?
Well, first I measured it, and then I compared it to what's in the textbook.
How did you measure it?
I went through that a long time ago.
Did you?
So,
have you got a video?
Yeah.
Sweet. What's it called?
It's not on my channel. It was clipped off of Jose.
Oh, you did a presentation on Jose's, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, right.
I measured the radius multiple ways. I own it.
Multiple ways?
Ah.
Wow. Can you give us the simplest one?
3 ways.
The straight line distance between Hagerstown, Maryland, Nantucket, New York, and Lakefield, Maine. I measured those 2 segments, 260 miles each, and then the overall segment of 520 miles. And the 2 shorter segments added up to be longer than the long segment, which generated a triangle, which was an isosceles triangle, which generated 3,962 mile radius.
You measured
that was one.
You measured a triangle to get a radius.
No angles, just the distances. No optics.
You said a triangle. You said you made a triangle.
Yeah, I did. Because on the surface of the Earth, they were in a portion of great circle. And yeah, the short segments added up to be longer than the long segment, which was a chord. The long segment was a chord of the planet. Yeah, I did that.
Are you sure you're a surveyor,
Larry? Well, when the state issued me my professional license, I'm pretty sure. And 35 years later, after having made a boatload of money mapping things like the Andes Mountains and all of Papua New Guinea, I'll go with it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you think of the test then? Do you think we could improve the test?
Yeah, absolutely. I was applauding for you because I was glad to see you took the initiative, you got the hardware, you set them up. Now, just one step further, set them up in a straight line so the tops of all the water columns can be observed simultaneously in aggregate.
Again, Larry, that's the beauty of the water level. You don't need a sight line. I mean, that's adding little bit of stipulations that isn't needed with the water level.
That's the beauty of the test. That's you've got to test all of the points in aggregate. Yeah, you have to see them all at the same time to make the test. Other than that, you're going on belief. You have to test
that the water level is horizontal because we've got a proof of a shared straight line segment.
You didn't prove horizontal. You just proved that. Yeah,
but it's elevation. Not sloping, is it? The water level can't be a slope.
Nobody said it was. I said.
Yeah, Sean G said it was, and Blue said it was as well. So yeah, people have said it's a slope. They say it quite often round here, Larry.
Other people, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going with the textbook diagram I put up.
So you're agreeing with us then? It's a straight line, right? It's not curved, is it? Because a curve would mean a drop or a slope when measured from point to point, because that's the best you can do.
I'm agreeing with the textbook diagram where the tops of those water columns are at constant elevation.
Yeah, horizontal, straight line.
I didn't say that. I'm agreeing with the textbook, which does not indicate that's horizontal. It indicates that is a constant elevation. Go look back at the diagram. Go ahead and...
What textbook is that? Larry?
Ordnance Survey UK.
Go on, show us the textbook.
I just did.
What do you mean you just did? Has he showed
the picture, you mean? The screenshot that is cut it out altogether.
One picture.
Like, do you have a PDF or something?
Yeah, I want to see the textbook, Larry. I've only ever seen pictures and people's claim that it is a textbook. Textbook from where? From what? Ordnance Survey? Ordnance Survey isn't
give
even
us the
government
title,
owned anymore.
please.
It's a private company.
Title of the book or something like that? Can you give us that instead of a freaking picture?
A picture from McToon's website.
Finally, thank you.
I've never been to McToon, so forget it.
1925.
Yeah, nothing's changed, man. That's the beauty of
That's
survey.
interesting. Isn't that before the GPS, by the way?
Yeah, that's definitely before GPS.
That's interesting.
Surveying is centuries old, well mature science. That's how, that's how the
It's
elevation
not
of Mount,
changed, does it, Larry?
the elevation of Mount Everest is based all on the shape of the Earth, and was accurate, and it's been proven by GPS and by further optical measurement with vertical angles and all that good shit. Yeah.
You are quoting a book from 1925. Don't
Okay.
talk about GPS, please, at this point. You can talk about it later, but if you quote something from a book from 1925, then don't talk about GPS, please.
Completely commensurate in the shape of the Earth, because Earth having been determined centuries ago, yeah, GPS also agrees.
Again, you don't get it, do you?
So, can we? It seemed to keep getting shifted from the straight line.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very
That's
simple, Larry.
that's what I'm trying to do. Get back to the very first thing.
Well, you have a go for a bit. See how well you can get on with Larry. I'll make a brew.
All right. Well, you know what? You keep on saying straight and horizontal, or level horizontal, all that good shit, and you're not testing it. So put your water columns in a straight line and test the geometry of the tops of all of them simultaneously in an aggregate. And you say that's the beauty of a water levels. You don't have to do that.
So what?
You don't have to do that to use the water level, but to make the test, you observe all the tops of all those water columns at the same time.
Yeah, again, so if you would look at water levels, then what are you doing? What are you doing that with? You're not even gonna answer me, right?
I'm sorry. I was having a hard time with your I couldn't understand a couple of the words.
What device do you use?
I would use
for what you're claiming to do.
I would use my best a couple of instruments, my best theodolites.
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 Would you use a theodolite to look at things in the far? That's your plan.
That's how I would evaluate the tops of those water columns, all at the same elevation, to view them in all at the same time, and in aggregate, measure the geometry of the tops of those points.
And what do you get when you use a theodolite?
Well, you can use a theodolite multiple ways. You can measure the vertical angles, horizontal angles, or you can just use the crosshairs as a point of reference, just like a string line.
And you think that if you look through something that is a curved glass, it will be always straight, no matter how far you're looking with it, right?
We're talking under a kilometer. Yeah, refraction is itty bitty teeny tiny at a kilometer, so it would not be an issue at 400 to 600 meters.
Well, what do you think? Which refraction I was talking about? The refraction that happens where?
I thought the only refraction that mattered, atmospheric.
Atmospheric. That's very interesting, because right in front of your face, when you use the theodolite, you have another one that seemingly everybody tends to forget about. It's right in front of you. What is that? What am I referring to?
I don't know, because that's why we use crosshairs. Because the crosshairs are at the nodal point, and the only measurements are taken across the nodal point, not at various places across the view. And it's a long focal length and a very small field of view. So only using crosshairs at the nodal point, as the instrument is transited and rotated, measuring the delta of rotation across the crosshair, not across random points in the field of view. So at the nodal point of the lens, that's why it's in the center, and that's why we only measure at the crosshair.
Sure. What happens when something is further away than 100 meters regarding the atmospheric refraction in your idea about it? What happens to that picture, to that light that comes from farther away than 100 meters?
The vertical angles measured, or the zenith angles measured to a distance object, is elevated by 4 arc seconds times.
I have a very simple question, nothing to do with any zenith lines or whatsoever, or angles.
Well, I'm sorry. You asked about refraction. The refraction occurs in the vertical, and it affects the measured angle. So how else could I answer it? And it affects that angle by 4 arc seconds per mile.
Mm-hmm. So it has an effect, right? Atmospheric refraction.
Absolutely.
What happens? Yeah. Oh, and your claim is that it's so minuscule that we should dismiss it, basically, over that kind of distance that we are talking about. Yeah.
Qualified for under a mile? Yeah, because it's only 4 arc seconds per mile. Yeah, of refraction.
Sure, yeah. But what happens to that even though it's a minuscule refraction, what happens to that when it hits the lens of your theodolite at, let's phrase it that way, at the wrong side, at the wrong point, not in the middle? What happens then?
You only make measurements at the crosshair.
Okay, I tell you, it gets distorted even more because of the lens of the theodolite.
Well, I guess your theodolites may be substandard to mine. I don't know, because I only measure at the crosshairs.
Substandard. You cannot even, as a company, you cannot make a theodolite and then call it a theodolite if it doesn't meet the certain standards that it has to meet, right?
Okay.
So
Fine.
it's not like I can name anything. I cannot name my little lens that I chisel at home and then call it a theodolite.
I yield, but at the crosshairs, you're not going to find, and you're only measuring at the crosshair, only at the crosshair, nowhere else in the field of view?
No, I'm talking about that you are implying that there are huge differences in between theodolites in the first place, which is a bullshit.
Some differences in the integrity of optics and the magnification and the focal length.
Yeah, those are called the features of the theodolite.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
So the theodolite does work. Every theodolite does work. They only have different kind of features to them. That's it. But they all work.
Accuracy and precision, repeatability. Yeah, that's exactly what it's all about. Yeah.
So again, the problem you are facing, actually, when you are looking into this kind of stuff and you try to determine geometrical measurements by looking through any kind of device, is actually called, in other fields, photogrammetry. Have you ever heard about that?
Yes, I worked for multiple photogrammetric companies, and I laid out methods to lay out the control, and I flew in the airplane.
That's a new one. I didn't know that about you. That's great. What was your, how do you call it when you have a set of rules within a field? A field like this, like it's, So the rules that you have to follow when you actually go out and do your job. What did it write about the maximum distance for photogrammetry? What the object should be at? What distance it should be at the most?
Well, there are different...
For you to be able to calculate anything regarding that object.
Depends on the specification of the project. I mean, some airplanes fly along at 5,000 feet. Other airplanes fly along at 20,000 feet. And when I'm laying out...
So you are not talking about aerial photogrammetry, are you?
Pardon me?
You're not talking about aerial photogrammetry, are you?
Yeah, aerial photography, stereo imagery,
aerial photogrammetry in the first place, and in the second place, that's certainly not we are talking about here, because that's supposed to be shot by an airplane up in the high, right? And we are on the ground. We are talking about an experiment that was carried out on the ground. So what are you talking about?
I make measurements and lay out control points that show up in the photography on the ground. And it shows up in the stereo imagery of the photogrammetry. You brought up the subject, photogrammetry.
Which is the other photogrammetry that exists?
I don't know. There's
There are
terrestrial.
two types. Yeah, terrestrial, finally. That's the one that we are looking for, aren't we? Because we are trying to determine calculations based on a camera view. And
But
that's the terrestrial photogrammetry.
controlled by marks on the ground that have very high accuracy.
That's
position.
aerial. Don't mix up the two, please. That's aerial photogrammetry. We are talking about terrestrial, which means the photogrammetry carried out on the ground. Terrestrial.
Okay, I have not dealt with terrestrial photogrammetry, and that has gone pretty much the way it's become obsolete with scanners. But yeah.
I'm amazed you never even heard about that, by the way, especially if you were one of them, carrying out the job.
Usually in terrestrial,
I'm amazed by that.
Terrestrial photogrammetry is usually industrial, like for piping or in short range, short distances, maybe,
How short?
3D
How
modeling.
short is that range? Do you know that?
No, I'm totally unfamiliar with terrestrial photogrammetry because the companies I worked for was aerial, and the companies I worked for required layout of control points that show up in the photography.
Very good, but that's not what I was talking about.
Then I don't know what you're talking about. This whole thing is, we're going around in circles. It's great.
No, we are not. We are
Well-
delving into a subject that seems to, destroy you. That's why you're trying to get away right now. What is terrestrial photogrammetry again?
You want to talk about terrestrial photogrammetry? Fine, knock yourself out. You want to talk about aerial photogrammetry? You can ask me some questions.
Mate, we are
geodesy?
talking about an experiment that was carried out on the ground. Of course, I'm talking about the terrestrial photogrammetry, not the aerial one.
Okay.
Like, how did you even think that?
Because I don't know how photogrammetry even got into the water level test.
Because everything that you said, like let's say the theodolite, but you could have brought up the auto level, is kind of the same as photogrammetry, isn't it?
No, because in photogrammetry, you're using images throughout the field of view, and at theodolite, you're only using a measurement at the exact center at the crosshair, not
based
the whole.
on what?
What do you mean based on what?
Based on the image that the theodolite gives you right there in real life, right?
Just the center.
That's why it's the same. You don't get that. You don't get that. That you both or any kind of camera you look through, you have a lens.
And the crosshair is at the nodal of that lens. It's at the nodal point of that lens. That's meaningful.
You can do that for any kind of camera. You can literally draw even if you want to.
Absolutely. My
so what's the difference again?
My $10,000 theodolite, that crosshair is at the nodal point very carefully.
How much, Larry? How much?
10 grand.
10. Wow. Is that US?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Carry on.
No, so my question was, what is the real difference?
The fact that mine has a readout at 1 microradian.
No, I was asking the difference for the camera and the theodolite.
Oh, the theodolite?
Never mind. Let's keep that because now you're getting it. That both times, at any time when you look through a camera, then you look through a camera.
Right, and you could.
No matter if you record the image digitally or analog or you don't, it doesn't really matter because every time you look through a curved lens. That's the real problem.
You take multiple pictures with your digital camera and identify just the one singular pixel that's at the nodal point, and only make reference measurements as you rotate that camera across that single pixel in each photo at the nodal point, not something in the array, not something in the total field of view, just whatever image is at the center, the nodal point pixel.
Is that a straight line though, Larry?
What? Oh man.
We seem to be getting off. You're into pixels. We are just trying to talk about straight lines, right?
He brought up digital camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
All right.
No, you are deviating my
Yeah.
point. I never talked about pixels whatsoever.
In summary, I was completely happy and applauded very highly his layout of the 600 meters of water level. Disconnected or not, overlapping is great. Yeah, he could have done it either way.
Overlapping is the point of it, Larry.
Hey, and it would have made no difference if they were not overlapping.
It would, because it wouldn't have been the test. It wouldn't have been able to show a shared straight line segment unless they were overlapping. That was the whole point of the test.
In summary, I was completely happy with your layout of the 600 meters of water level. I was disappointed that they are not all intervisible, and that the tops of the water columns were not observed simultaneously by something.
Oh my god.
That's my disappointment, because that's the difference between a test and just
we were all looking at them. There was 3 of us. We had a P1000 at each station in the middle, the shared straight line segments. We were all looking at the water levels at those points. Yeah.
All 5 water columns at the same time?
The 6 in the center where the shared straight line segments are, Larry. Yes.
I completely grasped your description, and I'm just saying that it didn't really test the geometry of the tops of the elevations of all the water columns.
It was a geometric proof of a shared straight line segment, Larry. I'm struggling to understand how you can't understand that.
Shared straight line. Which part is hard? What does it mean if they share straight lines? What does it mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Beat shit out of me.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling that you didn't get that part.
That's why I don't think Larry's a real surveyor. I mean,
yeah, it's fucking easy. Not to mention, by the way, but that was my feeling, that part somehow, I don't know why, but either confuses him or doesn't even care to understand it. I'm not sure.
I don't know. How does that? I can only go with my.
It means that if they share the same line, then they do not have an. They do not. Sorry, they do not even have an angle to each other. That's what it means, right?
Yeah.
So if those two supposed curving away, because in your model it should be curving away, those would be like either curving or sloping.
Entire
array. If Bev can prove
tops of all the water
level that they do not have an angle to each other, then what does that mean?
Okay, yeah, the tops of all the water columns are at a constant elevation. Granted. Okay, good. Now we can move on to testing the geometry of the tops of those water columns, and not just say, well, they're shared, we're done.
You don't test the geometry, Larry. That's
no.
Right, folks. I'm run out. I'm glad you got out there and did something, Bev. I'm very glad at that. I'm just hoping you take it to the next level.
We are at the next level, Larry. Welcome.
In a straight line.
Welcome.
Put him in a straight line.
To make a joke.
Put him in a straight line, and then observe all 5 of them in aggregate with some level of optical tooling.
Optical. That I tried to explain what the problem is that you were trying to deviate from.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you test it with optical, and then show how optical?
They did already. Like Bev did it already, like 1.5 months ago, I think. If I'm correct.
That's very good. I work in the tens of miles. He can work in the tens of meters. It's all good.
Tens of miles for what again? What do you work with regarding tens of miles?
Triangulate.
What do you do?
Triangulate. Yeah.
You triangulate.
Yes, I do. That's why I have a big, expensive theodolite. That is my job.
To triangulate, you. Not the GPS, not the GSM, not you. Analog triangulation, nowadays in 2021. That's fucking amazing, man.
Well, it was intentionally to be in concert with that 1925 book, and to notice how well it comports to any other measuring method today.
Yeah, mate, you might be living in 1925, but the world actually has moved on almost 100 years, and now they are using GPS and other stuff.
Yes,
I
because
cannot believe that you doing the triangulation.
Just a minute though, because the other day Larry said to my lad that, so you're doing old school triangulation with a 10,000. You're not measuring triangles with more than 180 degrees, are you?
I don't measure areas large enough for that to be evident to me, because the largest triangle I have is 322 square miles, and its excess is only 3 arc seconds. And that is for the total triangle, which is only 1 arc second per vertex. So yeah, that's over 325 some square miles. So yeah.
Did you say excess was something though, right? You did say excess was something.
3 arc seconds, yeah. 3 arc seconds.
So that's more than 180 degrees, right?
Exactly. That's what I said, yeah.
So the answer would have been yes. You say you are measuring triangles with more than 180 degrees using old school sighting methods, yeah?
I also pointed out that it is so small that I cannot swear to it.
What do you mean by swear? Don't you measure?
It's like flat, you're saying? The
Look it up, you know. It's 1 arc second for every 75.6 square miles.
You're not measuring it though, right, Larry? That doesn't sound like a measurement.
Calculation. That sounds like calculation.
I'm looking forward to your next water level. I'm looking forward to your next water level test.
It'll probably be an optic test, the next one.
Well, I hope so. I'll be very interested to see you then. Ciao.
Oh, yeah, you go.
Ciao.
I'm confused on like everything he said.
Yeah.
Like you got okay, so your triangulation, right? Now, when you're triangulating, that's just distance, right? And then you got point A to point B, then B to C, and then B to A, right? Yeah. Like I don't see the need for a theodolite on that, right? When you would want to measure the physical distances. There's really no need how I'm seeing this for angle measurements.
Yeah, you're not measuring any distance. Distances don't come into it. It's just the angles, right?
Well, if it's a theodolite, then yeah, not really. Not really.
Especially if you're sighting over tens of miles from mountaintop to mountaintop, right?
Yeah.
You're literally just concentrating on the angle. You leave other methods for measuring the distance, right? That you're purely there. Somebody else has got to decide where the top of that mountain is on the floor to measure a horizontal distance from one point to another. You leave that up to other people. Now, they may try and drop that down geometrically by, like Larry says, measuring angles from places. But, I mean, that's all they're trying to do is find the horizontal position underneath the ground so they can measure a distance from one point to another.
But that's also on the same plane, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
so those are straight
horizontal.
lines.
Yeah, you've got to get the shortest
horizontal
distance from one point to the other, which is a horizontal distance. Otherwise, it's a slope, and you're using the horizontal to make a right-angled triangle to measure the slope.
Bev, are we actually talking about 3 coplanar points?
Yeah, every triangle. Well, I mean, all of those points, that's basically of the water levels, of each water level, there were all coplanar points, weren't they? I mean, that's what the communicating vessels do.
Maybe somebody can explain this. All right, so you're at point A. You're looking from point A to point B, okay? Now you go from B to C. You've done where do you get the angle that's over 180? Right, like that's what I'm kind of like.
You can't.
You can't.
If it's on a plane, if it sits on if all 3 points sitting on the same plane, whatever you call it, you can call it horizontal, or you can name it for yourself.
It could be at any angle as well, right? It doesn't matter the elevations of any of those mountains.
If they sit on the same plane, then it must have exactly, not less, not more, exactly 180. degrees.
Even if they're not on, those 3 points define the plane, and that triangle then becomes the plane. The angles will always be 180 degrees because three coplanar points define a plane.
At what point during that, right? Okay, so they go from A to B. They still haven't. There's no spherical excess yet. Then they go from B to C. Still no spherical excess yet. Then they go back from B to A, from C to A. Still no spherical excess. So when does this spherical excess come in? When is it measured? When is it shown? When is it like? I feel like it all happens after the fact.
It's got to be, right? Because you imagine, right? You're the guy. You're in charge of. You're on point A, right? I'll be on point B. What's up can be on point C, right? So, right, so let's go, guys. We'll do it all reciprocal. We'll do it at the same time, right? And I'll measure my angle from you to what's up, and you can get me to what's up, and what's up can get me to you, right? They're the angles. We're all holding our sticks up there and measuring at the same time. And we add our angles up, right? And when we add them up, we go, oh, shit, guys, it's more than 180. Like, do we go, yeah, that'll be it. That'll be right. Or do we go, right, who's fucking wrong? Yeah, I'm checking mine again straight away, right?
Yeah,
just
like,
to make sure, more accurate.
I don't understand how you get I don't know. I just don't get how you go from 8. You do these like your coplanars, but then you get not coplanar. I don't get how they're doing this unless they're just looking.
They are not. See, they are not.
Yeah. It's in data, right? If you have 3 points and you measure 2 of them, you know the other one, right? It's 3 points. Coplanar, triangle, 180 degrees. You don't need to go to the third one. You can calculate that.
By the way, yeah.
And be
If you have two, then you know
absolutely
the
guaranteed you will be correct every time, without fail.
It's almost as if like they don't even have this spherical excess. It's like there's like something.
Not in reality.
Like, okay, yeah, like in reality, we see like when we go further away from a building, you can't see the whole building, right? I'm not, I agree. Now I don't agree it's because of a ball, right? But we agree you can't see the whole building. I think with spherical excess, they don't even have that. Like I don't even think they really have that they don't even have the thing to interpret. Right? It's a total manifestation.
Never looked into that. Yeah, you might be right. Like calculating it really out with the spherical axis. Yeah. Does it really match? I'm not sure, but yeah, that's a good point.
I want to see them do this in the field. Let's get
Which one, the spherical axis?
Larry
or
said
the
that's his job.
Spherical axis in the field. I want to see that.
Larry
they
does
don't do that. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Take us on a day out with Larry. Measuring triangles in reality. Employed to triangulate.
By the way, I didn't get that answer. What is he actually doing when he claims that he is measuring
triangulator.
Triangles? Okay, but what? For what?
For triangulating.
But how? You can't just take
you need some triangles making. Like, it's not that they've already been measured, right? Everything's already known. But, Larry, go on. Measure us a triangle. He's like, oh, all right. Like, okay, thanks. Again.
Like with an actual invoice with Larry's name on the top and then writing below it that I measured, 375 square meters of a triangle here and here. And then, on the bottom it's $1,500 or what?
I think he has a formula, right? His job is a triangulator. And he's told my lad that triangles have more. He told us that triangles have more. So it's his job to just triangulate, right? And he's the guy that's telling us that triangles have more than 180 degrees. A mathematical impossibility. It is something should be telling you that perhaps Larry isn't always as truthful as he should be. But I like the triangulator as a job. It's a pity he left because I was hoping to get a few more questions, but it's always hard to ask them questions, isn't it?
All right, sorry if I'm harping. I'm really trying to. I really don't get it. Like, so, okay, you're at B, I'm at A. I'm looking at you, okay?
Yep.
Now, if I can see you,
Yep.
then it's a straight line.
Yep.
But if you're dipping down, then that's spherical excess because I don't see the point where I'm trying to go. Is that what they're going at?
No, you've got a theodolite. You can point that thing downwards. You can do that.
Okay, so
you can
All
actually
right, so
change that thing.
I can't see. I don't see how you get, like, when you get an angle, right? That's all you get. You get the angle. Now you don't get something else that you compare it to, so you have an excess.
Yeah, see, the problem that they have an imaginary vertical, right, at each of these things. Now, if you're at your mountain and you're pointing at me, your vertical is going to be straight up and down, right? As is mine. Mine's going to be straight up and down. But they have some sort of a slant. But, I mean, not that that would make any difference anyway. But you could still measure from point to point and still measure the same angle. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm not. It's almost like you got to go out of your way to fuck this up, right? Like you no matter what you do, you have to somehow curve one of these straight lines to get that excess to make, and then everything else falls apart after that, basically. But
sure, it takes more energy to come up with the globe. Yeah, exactly.
A triangle of more than 180 degrees is impossible because you have to curve one of the sides, but then it makes it impossible for you to measure an angle anyway. So It doesn't actually work anyway. So it's just impossible. Can't be done. Unless you're willing to accept that straight lines can curve, and then you can still call a shape with 3 curved lines a triangle. And then imagine that you can measure the angle in between those 2 curved lines, which you can't.
And you have to assume that all of the things that make like the Pythagorean theorem on a straight triangle will somehow still maintain their integrity when moved over, and they don't.
Yeah,
and that's why.
Basically, you just have to imagine that straight lines curve, and then you can go along with the Pythagorean formula theorem working fine, and angles being able to be measured between straight lines. If you just imagine those straight lines curve, you can get away with it.
Yeah, right the hand. What's your idea how someone measures an angle in between a straight line and a curved one? How do you measure that?
No, that's what I'm like, this is what I'm a little... It seems like...
That's the main problem. How do you measure it? Like anybody. Hop in, tell us, please.
They got this one information data, right? But they're somehow manipulating it into giving them more than that. It's like, okay, you have A to B to C. Now you're doing something else to get more information out of what we already had. But now that information isn't good. Like, because it's not
Obviously.
true.
It wasn't measured ever, yeah. That's not what they measured.
They don't measure anything. There's no spherical excess measurement whatsoever.
That's the real problem. They do measure things, they do measure angles, but then they put it in some formula that in the end it says it's globe, and that's it.
Yeah, bro. Like that's like I guess I used to think that there was like the spherical excess was measured on the field, right? Like I was like, okay, you're looking, but then I was like, no, that can't be, right? You couldn't do that. You'd have to look in a curved path, which we don't do. We see straight, right? So yeah, it just just harping on this spherical excess, and it turns out it's really not there.
Yeah, all the tools that you use to do all of this sighting, they're all Euclidean tools, straight line. geometrics.
Straight lines. Yeah.
It was really strange to me because, I mean, the chances of me actually doing surveying and then coming into this, it was like, when I heard people saying that, it was like, I was thinking back, it's like, no, that doesn't sound right. Doesn't make any sense. And then I completely forgot that I got to college because life had happened. I did it ages ago. It seemed like 20 odd years ago, you know, it's a long time. Time to forget about it. But like you hear it and it just doesn't sound right. I mean, like who's been telling people that they can actually measure more than 180 degrees? And how little geometric understanding do you have to accept that as though, yeah, well, you must be.
You got to push a third dimension, right? Like, and you have these two dimensions where you're measuring, you're triangulating. Then to get that curve, you need to start. You need to create that X and Y, right? And you now need to take your 2D things and like melt them into the 3-dimensional world.
Well, no, it is in the 3-dimensional world.
Well, when you curve the line, right? Like it's it's going along a new axis.
It's just in your imagination, right? It doesn't actually happen. Like that curvature never actually makes it into reality. It's only in the mind.
They use a function for that, so-called function, or we can call it an algorithm. That's how they actually do it.
Okay.
They send in the data, and then the algorithm.
Sorry.
Oh.
Babs is coming to do a shout out to all the fake surveyors out there. Did you see the thumbs down? I think that was because Larry's been here. We've got a load of thumbs down, and Babs is obviously relating to that, the fake surveyors, i.e. Larry that's just gone. So, yeah, shout out to all the fake surveyors out there. All those acting surveyors. Keep trying.
Shout out to the guy from Maine.
Yeah.
Well, he's not here anymore.
Shout out to Sean G. Well, yeah, if he was around.
Okay. All right, so how...
Shout out to 9% guy.
They do this thing after the fact. Now, why doesn't it... if they go back to reality, shouldn't it be all fucked up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why are they like, but everything works?
Because they model it back into reality. It only exists in the model, right?
So it's like a Lorentz transformation. They like transform it and then transform it back.
Yep. Yeah, to make a map, right? They can go, it's a projection, but it's not. It's just the exact replication of what was in the beginning.
So they go from the flat land, then they take it and they make it curved in their calculations.
In your mind.
Yeah. In the minds, where they're calculating. Then they flatten it back out.
Yeah,
because they're like, we got to make a map, and we project it. We're going to remove all of the stuff we've done in the imagination, and then so it's basically a waste of time. So you could basically just take the data.
Obviously.
And just
you were right.
Make the map right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
That's what they did.
But that's how
when they made old maps.
That's what they did back like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Yeah, that's what they did. They didn't fuck around with any kind of sphere.
We call it geometry, right? And the principles have been laid down by Euclid.
So you get it now how bad it is, right?
There's a whole bunch of guys that have a job that it's useless.
Yeah.
They are doing all this. Yes, Unicorn. Larry's job is completely fucking useless.
Well, you can phrase it that way too. Yeah.
See, the surveyors still do their job, right? They've got nothing wrong with surveyors, right? Surveyors do their job and what they do. There's only people like Larry that aren't real surveyors. There is what we call globe surveyors. They do all of this mind tricks in order to make it possible for you to think that their model is possible. They don't actually do anything. That's why we keep saying he's not a real surveyor. A real surveyor would know how to apply their trade. Measure elevation changes and do all of that sort of stuff. They would know what to do and how it all works. I presume. I mean, being Larry, like somebody like Larry says he's been doing it for 35 years. Well, that was before GPS came around.
35 years.
I mean,
that's what he said.
even when I was doing it, GPS wasn't around. So we literally did a differential leveling, right? You made your level and you made that go for however far and make a new turning point, and you just transposed that one level and plotted that and made a map as accurate as possible. That was the test. Whether you could do it and how accurate you would be once you did the plans on top of a already done plan from other years. I mean, yeah. And that was only basic training. So Larry must have lived through that. And even though he says he's got a £10,000 theodolite, that's an old school one, 1950s or something. That instrument comes before. There's no GPS in that instrument.
Oh, there's no on-off switch for curvature?
And I definitely think so. I think that'd be before the internal programming of anything digital. It'll just literally be reading numbers. I mean, he says what? Micro radian. That's pretty accurate, but I mean, it's just measuring angles. It's a theodolite. We're specifically talking with the water level, talking about elevation, which isn't the job of a theodolite. It is the job of the auto level and obviously the water level. And still, Babs is upset. Yeah, it's part one. That's why I said part one, Babs. I've not really got a chance to go through all of the details and everything. It's just the principles behind it. We have to get to understand your principles. For the minute, you'll have to take my word for it, and that the water levels were the same. I mean, I could show you the footage, like I said. And I will be able to show you the footage, but what would that prove to you, Babs? You wouldn't believe a word I said anyway. But you don't even understand the principles involved. First off, that's the thing. It's obvious. Larry was struggling. I'm still struggling to work out how Larry could say they're all at the same elevation. It shows a shared straight line segment. I'm pretty sure he agreed to the shared straight line segment, but didn't agree to a straight line overall. But
who's playing with lasers?
It's because I put my laser thing on to show straight line.
Yeah, in this live stream.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
like just on the whiteboard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's upset because there's no numbers to go along with the straight line principles for the test. It's a shared straight line segment. I don't know how else to show it. So you're not jealous, are you, Babs, that you haven't done it? I mean, you could do it yourself. You might imagine all of that funding that you all got for your PCs and whatnot. You could get.
They'll probably be mad because you did. They'll probably be mad because you didn't do it in the dark.
Yeah, with flashing lights.
Chris Matt is saying the same shit that we've heard from Jose. At least 3 times I heard it. There is a reason you aren't showing us the footage.
Mm-hmm.
Did it live on Discord.
They are implying that there should be a footage by now. It happened yesterday. It took like 7-8 hours. I'm sure Bev is a little tired still because they were running up and down all day yesterday. And then he also had to like drive along, I don't know how many kilometers. And they are demanding a fucking video.
Yeah.
Instead of hopping in on a Sunday, anytime they wanted to.
Well, that was the point of it. The point of it was to show everybody it's a test for us here in this server. We've all made this together. We've all tested it together. Everybody in this server, Discord server, has been involved in it. People, members on the YouTube channel. I mean, thank you. There's loads of people involved with this test and the principles behind it and the group of people that we've got. And we were testing. One of the tests was testing how the Wi-Fi signal would work and where the Wi-Fi signal would work on the canal bank. I mean, it was a bit better than usual than the last time that we didn't go to that. I'm glad we didn't go to quite that car park because it was really bad. But yeah, we tested it so we could get the signal, and we did manage to get all three of them on our mobile phones as we were looking at it in the Discord. So people in the Discord could look and see all three of these screens next to each other. Discord was the place to be if you wanted to see this test. Me, and Spot On, and my lads, we were all out on the canal bank doing the test. We could only see our individual ones. That's all we could see as we were doing it. Everyone else was 100 meters away at least. So you should have come. And we always say this. People keep saying we don't do anything. Well, we do. We do loads. Nearly every time I go to Southport, we take the camera. I flick on live and we're there chatting with each other as we are live. We've done multiple tests along the canal bank, out at the beach, all over the place. We're always doing it. And we will continue to do it. But the way we set it up is so it's better in Discord. You've got a better view of everything. You've got a more rounded view. You can see all of the different cameras that we've got on the go. So yeah, Babs, come and see it. It was there for you. You could have been in here clicking record and making the video yourself.
If you wanted to, it wouldn't have been a problem, in my opinion, whatsoever.
No.
I was traveling around YouTube while y'all were out there just to see what the buzz was. And they were just repeatedly going, they never do anything. They never go out and do any tests. Look what Blue Marvel's done. Look what, and I'm sitting there laughing going, they're out there right now on Discord live out there doing stuff while you make a fool of yourself saying we never do anything. That was Naps and a couple others.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what you have to point out, that it really is happening in here. It's not like a lie. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? We already know and we already expect it. And we already know who's saying it. Yeah. People like Babs. All of these negative people. They're the ones pushing the narrative. They're the ones saying that we aren't doing stuff that we obviously are doing. So if anybody wants to come in and get involved in any of the stuff that we're doing, I mean, we don't do it so the ballers can say that doesn't prove anything. We do it for ourselves, and we test stuff for ourselves. We already know they are going to say, no, not that. We know that. But as we say, I mean, there's proofs. Well, there's proofs for truth.
Yeah, and sorry, when Bev says it's for us, it doesn't mean that you are not welcome here. It only means that Bev is, first of all, Bev is not going to do anybody else's test or experiment or whatsoever. So when Shanji came in here or anybody and told Bev, well, you should do this and that, no, fuck off. Bev is doing his test that he came up with, and the other guys that were in here when they came up with that test, and nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. And second of all, it doesn't mean that you should be, going into other places and then wonder if the test has been done or not. Hop in and you will see, as you could have seen yesterday too. It was almost non-stop, by the way.
Yeah. And we're still going to be testing. I want to refine this test now. This test's been done and it's been proved to be a viable test. We can use 3mm tube to make a proper test. All we just need to do now is get some more accurate equipment and test it further.
Oh, and there are a few things that, for example, I never even thought about regarding this test and what happens during this test also, besides the straight line.
Yeah, well, there's another layout. One of the other layouts was one of the proofs that we were going to work through Euclid, right? To do as many of the Euclidean proofs that there are possible to do in reality. To directly replicate. And the other one is to show that points are on the same plane with another layout. So that's another one of the tests that we can do when we get together. But again, like I say, we'll do this again down there to go and show Emma, and then we can go to all other places. It's mainly the conversation that's the good thing. Conversation of people passing.
Did I hear it right? Because I wasn't sure and I wasn't listening for the whole time. But did Spot On had a little, argument with someone regarding what you guys are doing there?
No, I don't think there was an argument. There was a guy that was upset. I don't know. He was
upset. That's kind of what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, he was of the misunderstanding of what we were doing, but I mean, nothing that we've ever dealt with, rather. Let's say.
Sure. Yeah.
But I wasn't there. I was miles away, so I only ever heard it on the live stream. So it's a 7-hour live stream. Take a fair bit of cutting to pick out the bits that are worth it, because most of the time we were doing the setup and everything. It's not glamorous.
Sticking in rods and then trying to make the water level actually not curving all around and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, my water level, obviously, because I've got distiller here, that I could already pre-distill the water and flush mine through. So I've got fresh distilled water in mine. Spot On came down and we had to flush his through with the distilled water, just to be sure, for our own peace of mind.
Yeah.
So
how much time did that took to flush through like a 400-meter one, right? So.
Yeah, I mean that was probably a couple of hours doing that, and probably another hour again at the beginning to get it set up that we could put it in the right position, because he had a very unruly contraption with his stuff wound on, and we had to then unwind it. Put the tubes in it. Yeah, it was a good day though, because it showed us that we can work together. And that was one of the tests that we had to do, right? Us both being working guys, that we had to be able to prove it to ourselves that we could work together. And yeah, brilliant. Spot On's a really decent bloke. We got on really well, and we got the test done. Like, we've been working at it together for quite a while. And again, like, I don't know what to say to anybody to be able to show them how it's done. I mean, all you can get to look at now will be clips of video. Not many people will want to watch 7 hours of a live stream of us walking round at the side of a canal, laying out pipe and stuff. It's not very interesting. But I suppose we'll be able to find a few clips of the bits where we were setting it all up. I mean, I think Buster sent us a clip. I've not had a chance to look at that yet. Because, like I say, we got the videos. Got a video when we went to Brandon's. Was that before or after? It must have been just before we actually did the test, I think.
The part that I got was where you guys turned all your cameras on and were showing the overlapping bits.
Nice. That's when we just set it all up to check them all, right?
Yeah, I think they were starting to equalize out, and it was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't get y'all. Well, when y'all went back, you didn't run your live cameras, so we just I just listened.
Yeah. Well, that's when we had the P1000s all set up.
Right. Well, that's why. Yeah, I should rephrase that. Y'all weren't live streaming your.
Yeah, our cameras.
Phone cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, so on the Friday, was it Friday we went to Brandon's during the day? And I've got that, I did that video earlier, and that'll be coming out tomorrow sometime, I think. Maybe 3:30 tomorrow, UK. And then I'm working on the Sean G video. I'm going to have to, I've got a couple of bits, Buster, but I mean... It needs to be a bit of a special one, that, because, yeah, Sean G came round last night and we recorded, I think, around 2.5 hours of some of the best material we've ever had. It was almost worth spending 2 years and setting the water level up just to get that reaction from somebody who's definitely pretending to be a surveyor.
Yeah.
He even kept saying, when I'm out in the field, when I'm out in the field as a surveyor, I'm doing this. And I'm like, you're never out in the field as a surveyor. Never. That was funny. Yeah, I didn't run him off. I mean, I'm convinced. He didn't want to be there with me.
I think
But
so.
he was looking for a way out, man. Yeah. That dude was squirming. I've never heard somebody talk so fast.
Incoherent. Babble.
Yeah. Just babble, right? Spastic is what I called it. He didn't see a way out. He wanted to get it over with so quick, he was just trying to talk fast. Craziness.
Yeah. Right, well, I think I'm going to end this video. If anybody wants to come in the Discord, I will just drop the link from Discord in. No doubt we will be carrying on the this conversation, because we go into planning now on what happens next. So keep updated with us. We'll be planning more stuff in the Discord, so Discord's where it is at. Come join us. I'm stopping the stream.